But no one warns you what happens when the alpha who claims you doesn't want you. That's how your story begins on the night of your arranged wedding, when you stood before the man fate chose for you and watched him turn away. You thought being his Luna would make you powerful. You thought being chosen would finally mean you belonged, but all it brought was shame. He marked you, then left you, refused to touch you, told the entire pack you weren't worthy of him, you should have broken, should have begged. Instead, you ran. Because if being his bride means being humiliated, you'd rather become his enemy. But he doesn't know yet the girl he rejected isn't coming back to beg. She's coming back to reign. Chapter 1. The new bride candidate. You sit by your bedroom window, watching the last light fade over the trees outside. Your fingers twist the edge of a letter from your father, Alpha Edward, a reminder that your return isn't a welcome home, but a return to a cage you never chose, marriage. The word curls in your stomach like a poison. You don't want to be anyone's prize. You don't want to be a pawn in their games. And you definitely don't want to marry just because the elders say it's your duty. They think they know your story. They don't know you're here for something else, a debt to settle, a name to clear, and a past that won't let you rest. Far away, Vinus sits alone in his study, drowning in papers he'd rather set on fire. As alpha of the Red Moon Pack, he's supposed to command, to lead, but all he gets is politics and pressure. He doesn't want a bride, not another contract masked as marriage. You don't know Venus yet, but you both are trapped in a web that neither of you can escape. An email from Elder Parker pings again. Consider Marcy Redmayne as your Luna. Vinus deletes it again, 20 times. The same message. The elders want to control your lives, to tighten their grip. You spent years running chasing freedom in Europe, but freedom never chased you that hard. Your family sees you as a piece in their game, an asset to secure alliances, to climb higher. It's never been about you. You have no intention of being the obedient daughter. Not this time, not ever. Vinus knows the sting of betrayal too well, used by those who think they hold his strings. The last thing he wants is a bride chosen by others. But the pack doesn't care what either of you want. Chapter 2. Unwanted matches. Whispers circle around Vinus, the alpha you're supposed to marry. Tall, strong, ruthless, distant. The perfect figurehead for a broken tradition. But what do you really know about him? Not much. Just rumours. Just the same kind of chains you're desperate to break. Vinus's beta, Caden, storms into the study, frustration plain on his face. The elders are relentless. More emails, more bride candidates, more political theatre. Why won't you meet her? Caden snaps. Because it's a show, Vinus says coldly. A leash disguised as choice. You don't want this either, but the pack expects you to say yes, to smile, to be the perfect Luna and carry your family's legacy. But beneath your calm lies something else, a fire burning quietly. You're not a naive girl swept away by fate. You're here with a plan. Your wolf stirs, sensing the bond waiting to be claimed. But this bond isn't just destiny, it's a weapon. You wish you could control everything, but sometimes control isn't given, it's taken. Chapter 3. Bound by Blood. You are known as the Princess of the Red Moon Pack, the second largest werewolf pack in all of North America. Your father, Alpha Edward, runs the pack with a firm hand, while your mother, Luna Layla, handles appearances and diplomacy. As for you, since your younger brother James has been chosen to inherit the Alpha title, you are free to explore the world, and for the past 10 years, that's exactly what you've done. You started off in the United Kingdom, moved to Poland for 2 years, and have now been living in France for nearly 3. During that time, you didn't just travel, you studied languages, took college courses, and earned your degree 3 months ago. For the first time in your life, you rented your own small apartment. No more boarding schools, no curfews. You even picked up a part-time job in a little cafe, finally tasting the independence you'd craved for so long. You haven't been back home in a decade. You keep in touch through weekly video calls with your mum and the occasional email, but that's it. You are halfway through a local cooking course, learning how to make macaroons and already planning your next move, a summer in Spain. Everything is going according to your own timeline until the phone rings. It is nearly midnight when you groggily answer the call. I booked you a flight for tomorrow morning, your mother says without any greeting. The fog in your head clears instantly. Is everything okay? What happened? Everyone's fine, but we want you home as soon as possible. Is there a reason you can't leave right away? The e-ticket is in your inbox. Flight's at 6 a.m. You stare at your screen in disbelief. Mum, that's in 6 hours. Then you'd better start packing. Your mother ends the call like it's just any other casual update. You sit there, overwhelmed. You'd made plans for the morning. Breakfast with friends, laundry, your shift at the cafe later that afternoon. And now, all of it is being erased without explanation. You don't even know how long you'll be staying. Is it a short trip, or are your parents pulling you back permanently? With no answers, you pack lightly, just the essentials. Your apartment lease has 3 months left on it, and you have no intention of abandoning it completely. Your parents have always been controlling, but this feels like a new level of extreme. What you don't know is that your return has been planned behind your back. As you approached graduation, Alpha Edward and Elder Parker had been discussing ways to put you to use. A college degree, international experience, and fluency in several languages. You are a valuable asset. It's time for you to serve your pack. Edward is sure you'll fall in line. You've been raised for greatness after all, and from his point of view, this arrangement will benefit everyone, including you. The Red Moon Pack. Your homecoming is underwhelming. Your family waits for you in the formal living room, decorated with polished wood, expensive rugs, and gold-trimmed drapes. On the table sits a platter of pastries and a pitcher of lemonade. But the mood feels staged. You step inside and are hit with an unexpected voice in your head. "Do I have to do this?" Your brother's tone echoes through the pack mind link. You flinch, startled. 10 years away from pack life, and you've completely forgotten about mental communication. Quickly, you shut off your mind, not wanting anyone to read your thoughts. Luna Layla turns to your son with a tight smile. "At least greet your sister." "Welcome home," James says stiffly. "Sorry, but I have class in 2 minutes. If I'm late, I get extra work. We'll talk later." He gives a half-hearted wave and disappears upstairs. James had only been 5 when you left. Now 15, he is deep in training to become Alpha, studying hard, training harder, and too busy for anything else. The two of you are basically strangers. Alpha Edward pulls you into a brief hug, then steps back to look you over. "You're beautiful," he says with rare pride, brushing your blonde hair off your shoulder. "I'm proud to call you my daughter." Heat rushes to your face. Compliments from him are rare. "Thank you, father. Have you met your mate yet?" The question catches you off guard. No. Good, that's good." Edward's smile widens. "I have things to take care of. I'll leave you with your mother." As he leaves, Luna Layla jumps in with her usual energy. "You must be hungry. Are you jet-lagged? We didn't want to overwhelm you today. There's a welcome party tomorrow evening, but for now, I scheduled a full spa day. And in the afternoon, a few of my friends will stop by for tea. They still remember you as the little girl with freckles. They'll be so surprised to see how much you've grown. Can I just eat in my room?" You cut in gently. Layla nods without missing a beat. "Of course. Take a shower and the food will be waiting. You've got an hour until we head to the spa. The massage will help you relax. We can eat there too." You force a smile and head upstairs. Your old room is untouched just as you left it. Pastel pinks and purples still cover the walls. A queen-sized poster bed sits in the centre, flanked by a desk, a vanity, and 2 doors, one to a bathroom and one to a walk-in closet. A shelf by the bed still holds your collection of stuffed animals, mostly teddy bears. It's like stepping into a time capsule, and not necessarily a comforting one. The sudden call home, the awkward welcome, the overly planned schedule, something doesn't feel right. True to your mother's word, a tray of food waits on the bedside table by the time you emerge from the bathroom. A sandwich, an apple, and a cup of tea. You drop onto the bed and pick at the sandwich, your mind spinning. Your life in Europe isn't glamorous, but it's yours. You have friends, a job, your own place, plans. Here you are, the princess of a powerful pack. Sure, but it doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like a cage. You miss the spontaneity of Europe, the freedom to come and go as you please. In the Red Moon Pack, everything follows protocol: where you can go, who you can see, even how you dress. It's suffocating, but you try to focus on the positive. At least here you can shift freely without worrying about being seen by humans or mistaken for a wild animal. That has always been tricky overseas. You are halfway through your meal when someone knocks on the door. "Come in," you call, glancing at the clock. Your hour isn't up yet. A young woman steps inside, her long brunette hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. "Hello," the girl says with a polite smile. "I'm guessing you don't remember me. I'm Nora. My father is Beta Raymond. Luna Layla asked me to check if you need anything. I'll be joining you for the spa later." The name sparks a memory. Nora, freckles and pigtails, the bater's daughter. She used to tag along when you were kids, but now she is tall, polished, and definitely not the little girl from your childhood. She has grown into someone elegant and confident, with a figure that would make most models jealous. You nod slowly. Looks like you have a new best friend, whether you choose her or not. That is another thing you left behind in Europe, choosing your own friends. Still, you figure it could be worse. At least Nora is around your age, and not one of your mother's chatty tea ladies. So you smile politely, telling yourself to take things one day at a time. Something tells you that you're going to need that patience. Chapter 4. The Welcome Party. You figured she and Nora could probably get along. If nothing else, they could bond over skincare routines. Nora had shiny, healthy hair, flawless skin, and wore all the high-end labels. That had to count for something. "I don't need anything," you said, eyeing the last bite of her sandwich. "But if you're not busy, come in. We can talk." "Sure." Nora stepped into the room with a cheerful grin. You took a slow bite, then asked the question that had been weighing on her since the phone call. "Do you know why my parents asked me to come home so suddenly?" Nora froze, clearly caught off guard. You should probably ask Alpha Edward and Luna Layla." Before you could press further, Nora quickly changed the subject. "Your welcome party is tomorrow. Your parents invited almost everyone in the pack between 18 and 30. It's a big deal. They really want to reintroduce you to everyone. We all know who you are, obviously, but they want you to make new connections. There'll be over 200 people there." You managed a polite smile. It sounded more like a political event than a party. She appreciated the effort, but it felt like her childhood all over again. Strict routines, forced socializing, and no room for real choices. During her years in Europe, she'd nearly forgotten what it was like living under her parents' roof. Back then, she'd accepted it as normal, but now it felt like being pushed back into a life that no longer fit. The next day, the party kicked off at 6 in the evening. You and Nora helped each other with hair and makeup. Spending a good hour getting ready, they came downstairs fashionably late around 6:20 and silently exchanged looks of approval. They both looked flawless. Exactly what people expected from the alphas and betas' daughters. The main hall on the first floor had been transformed. French doors opened onto the garden, letting the summer breeze drift in. You recognized the space. It had hosted birthdays and holidays when she was little. Nora stayed close, politely introducing every person who approached. You smiled, shook hands, nodded along to names she couldn't remember. After the 20th introduction, she stopped trying to keep track. The event itself was impressive. The music had energy, the dance floor was packed, and the buffet had more food than anyone could finish. The drinks were flowing, and people were warm, eager to impress her. Maybe after all the formalities, she'd be able to enjoy herself. But then, something changed. Just after 8 o'clock, a scent drifted through the air, sweet clover, clean and warm, and her wolf stirred suddenly inside her. Mate, her heart skipped. She hadn't expected this. She'd turned 21 4 months ago and was starting to wonder if the moon goddess had forgotten her. But now, the bond was pulling at her, drawing her toward him. "Where are you going?" Nora asked, as you turned toward the source of the scent. "Restroom," you said quickly. "I'll come." "No need. I'll be right back." Before Nora could say anything else, you disappeared into the crowd. As soon as she stepped onto the back terrace, her eyes met his, chocolate brown eyes, warm, deep, intense. Her heart practically stopped. She couldn't move fast enough. He walked toward her, just as dazed, and without a single word, he reached for her hand. The second their skin touched, a wave of sparks shot through her body, pleasant and powerful. Their wolves howled in joy. He led her quietly across the garden, past rows of flowers and lantern-lit paths, to a more private spot hidden by thick hydrangea bushes. His steps were confident. You followed without hesitation, breathless. She studied his strong back, the shape of his shoulders. He looked like he'd stepped out of a dream, tall-toned, with hair the colour of sun-kissed chestnuts. When they finally stopped, he turned to face her. For a moment, they just looked at each other. No words were needed. Their smiles, the energy between them, it said enough. The sunset cast a soft golden light across his face. She noticed the tattoo peeking out from his open collar. A hummingbird, maybe? She wanted to see more. Her fingers itched to undo his shirt and explore. She was glad she'd waited. The fact that she was still a virgin felt like the right choice now. This man, this wolf, was worthy. It wasn't about old-fashioned values. She'd just known her parents would lose their minds if they ever found out she wasn't pure. So she'd been careful. Oral stuff? Fine. Even anal if the guy was good and respectful. But the one thing she'd never given away, that was for someone special, for her mate, and he was standing right here. He stared at her like she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. She felt the heat rise in her cheeks. Before he could speak, you grabbed the front of his shirt and pulled him down into a kiss. It wasn't her first, but it might as well have been. His mouth was warm, his scent intoxicating, and the energy flowing between them made her knees weak. "I'm you," she whispered when they broke apart. "George," he replied with a smile that made her stomach flutter. "My father is Alpha Edward, and my mother is—" "I know," he cut her off gently. His voice was low, almost husky. It made her want to melt into him. You laughed quietly, running her hands over his chest. She wanted to tear that shirt off right here and now, but the music and laughter in the background reminded her that they weren't alone. George tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. The touch made her heart skip. "Tell me something about you," she said dreamily. He shrugged. "I'm a nobody." She blinked. "You're part of the Red Moon Pack, right?" The mind link confirmed it. "The party started 2 hours ago. How come I just noticed you now?" "I was cleaning the training grounds. My shift ended at 8. I came straight here." Her breath caught. Cleaning. An Omega. Her smile faded. Reality set in like a punch to the chest. He wasn't a warrior. Not even a scout. He was an Omega. The lowest ranking wolves in the pack. No real power. No real status. And she was the Alpha's daughter. Why would the moon goddess pair her with an Omega? You took a shaky breath and stepped back. Then, before she could stop herself, the words came out. "You, Redmayne, reject you!" Her wolf screamed in agony. George's face fell. He looked like she'd slapped him, but she had to do it. It wasn't about him. It was about everything else. Her role, her family, the pressure, the future she'd been raised for. She turned and walked away, barely able to see through the tears burning her eyes. Back inside the house, she moved fast, not caring who she passed. She only stopped when she collided with someone in the hallway. "Sorry," she muttered. The girl she bumped into had unbrushed copper-coloured hair and clothes that didn't match the party's dress code. She scrambled to her feet and ran down the hall before you could say anything else. You didn't look back. She needed to be alone. Her wolf was silent, buried deep inside, wounded and refusing to speak. The pain in her chest wasn't just emotional, it was physical, like something had been ripped out of her. You shut the door to her room behind her, knowing deep down that she hadn't just lost her wolf. She'd lost a piece of herself. And that was only the beginning. Chapter 5. Excuses and Reasons. The next day passed in a daze. You couldn't stop thinking about what happened the night before, even as you pretended everything was fine. Luna Layla's endless tea parties, Nora dragging you around the pack grounds, trying to cheer you up like your only issue was adjusting it all blurred together. You smiled when people expected it. You came up with excuses for not shifting into your wolf. You said you were still tired from the trip, or not fully adjusted to the time difference. No one pressed further, but none of that mattered. Not really. The truth gnawed at you. You had a mate, and you rejected him. It felt like tasting the most exquisite dessert, only to have it yanked away, knowing you'd never get another bite. But what choice did you have? You didn't reject George on a whim. You were raised better than that. You might be the princess of the Red Moon Pack, but you'd spent the last decade living free, learning about the world, people, and power. You weren't blind. Your parents never saw you as just their daughter. You were a pawn, an asset designed to elevate the Red Moon Pack's status. Sending you to Europe was part of the plan, to make you mysterious, polished, desirable, a refined she-wolf worthy of a high-ranking alpha. Of course, like any girl, you dreamed of your mate, a man tall and commanding, who led warriors into battle by day and held you breathless in his arms at night. That's what you'd imagined. That's what every she-wolf dreamed of. George had the look. Strong arms, that hungry gaze, that presence that made your knees weak. But Omegas don't lead, they clean. If he had any standing, any position, he wouldn't have been mopping floors during your welcome party. Something had to be wrong with him, maybe too weak to fight, or maybe simply born into the wrong bloodline. Your parents would never allow it. If you clung to George, they'd punish him, maybe exile, maybe worse. And if you tried to fight back, you'd be disowned. Everything you'd been trained for would be stripped away. He'd be crushed. You might even be the reason for his death. Rejecting him was the only option that made sense. It didn't make it hurt less. You'd heard stories, wolves dying of heartbreak after losing their mate, but your bond with George was new, barely formed. If there was a time to break it clean, it was now. Maybe the moon goddess, Ebohat, would give you both a second chance. Or maybe, if you mated with someone else, this ache would eventually fade. You had to believe that. The knock on your door came early, dragging you from a restless sleep. Minutes later, you were sitting stiffly in your father's office. The air was thick with tension. Luna Layla sat beside Alpha Edward, calm but watchful. James leaned against the wall, pretending not to care. Beta Raymond was there too, along with Nora, standing quietly by the door. Your stomach sank. This wasn't just a chat. Had someone seen you with George? Did someone hear you reject him? You kept your face neutral and your heartbeat steady. George wouldn't talk. He couldn't afford to. And you sure as hell hadn't told anyone. Still, you braced yourself. Sit, Alpha Edward said firmly. You did, back straight. He didn't waste time. Alpha Vinus of the Dark Howlers pack is coming tomorrow. He'll be here for lunch. You blinked. That's it. Why the full council for one guest? Luna Layla smiled softly. The Dark Howlers are the largest pack in North America. You nodded. Of course you knew that. You also knew Alpha Vinus had a fearsome reputation, a ruthless warrior, undefeated in combat. He took his title young and didn't answer to anyone. Most Alphas feared or hated him. Some did both. Your father, for sure, hated him, not because of anything personal, but because Vinus made the Red Moon Pack second best, and Edward Redmayne had never been content with second. But now, strangely, he was smiling. He's coming to meet you, Alpha Edward continued, to discuss your potential future as his Luna. The air left your lungs. Future Luna? Like marriage? Suddenly, everything made sense. The etiquette classes, the home management lessons, your so-called freedom in Europe, just a way to make you more appealing, not truly yours. Your entire life had been building up to this. The first thing your father asked after you arrived home was whether you'd found your mate. That question hadn't been casual. He was making sure there were no complications before he finalized the deal. Your skin prickled with cold. You were just a transaction. And if George had said anything, if anyone knew this would all blow up. You hoped to the moon goddess that he kept his mouth shut. You looked at Nora. She stayed silent, her face unreadable. Did she know about this already? Did it matter? Luna Layla leaned forward eagerly. What do you think? You wanted to laugh? Think? What was there to think? Did you even have a choice? I'm still processing, you said tightly. You have until tomorrow noon to process and fix your attitude, your father said, his voice suddenly hard. This alliance matters. Don't mess it up. There it was. The real Edward Redmayne. This wasn't about you. It never was. Understood, you said quietly. May I be excused? He nodded once, and Luna Layla glanced at Nora, a silent command passing between them. From the moment you came home, Nora had been shadowing you. At first, you thought it was friendship. Now you knew she was your leash. Chapter 6. Stephanie, your mind is a mess after hearing the news you're meeting Alpha Vinus tomorrow. Vinus, the feared Alpha of the Dark Howlers pack, is your future husband. You still haven't recovered from finding your mate and rejecting him. Now you have to face another man, and this isn't just any man. Vinus has a fierce reputation on the battlefield, and an even worse one with women. Looking for some peace to think, you head to your room. To your horror, Nora follows close behind, gushing about how amazing this is. You sigh, irritated. Why won't Nora leave you alone? What do you actually know about Alpha Vinus? You ask, sharply. Nora pulls out her phone. He's super handsome. This photo was taken 2 months ago when he visited the Silverburn pack. I have a friend there, so we swap info about hotties, and Venus is definitely one of them. I can't believe he's coming here. You glance at the photo Nora shows you. Yeah, he is handsome. I guess if you marry him, I'll have the best inside scoop on him, she grins. You okay with me telling my friends about your hot husband? Vinus being married won't make him less attractive. We're just talking and looking, no touching. You let out a tired sigh. Take as many pictures as you want. It's not like I own him. This is all my father's doing for the pack's benefit. No one asked how I feel about it. Nora raises an eyebrow. How does that matter? You're set to marry the hottest werewolf in North America. He's got the looks, the money, and thousands of warriors at his command. His mansion is probably insanely fancy. His territory is huge forests, lakes, mountains stretching as far as you can see. It'll be all yours. You frown. What about his womanizing? Nora rolls her eyes like you asked a dumb question. Come on! Vinus is the alpha of the biggest pack in North America. He's never lost a fight. He's young, handsome, and single. Do you think he's going to be some monk? Women throw themselves at him. If he says the word, there'll be a line of beauties waiting. You groan. I wasn't talking about hookups. Didn't you hear about all the women offering themselves as brides and Vinus rejecting them? She shrugs. 1 or 100, who cares? Are you on the same level as them? You're beautiful, smart, and your father's the alpha of the Red Moon Pack. Even if Vinus doesn't fall for you immediately, as long as he doesn't reject you, you'll get your chance to win him over. You agree with that? You are all that and more. You've never met a man who turned you down. No matter how guarded Vinus is, you're sure you can break through. At the thought of rejection, you remember George the Greek god who gave you a few minutes of happiness before the harsh truth hit hard. Does Vinus already have a mate, or someone he prefers? You figure a guy like Vinus probably has several women waiting at home to please him. What if he has a harem? Do you know if Vinus found his mate? You ask. Maybe he did, and it didn't work out, Nora says thoughtfully, but you should focus on the fact that he's available. After the mating ceremony, it won't matter if another mate is out there. The bond between you two will grow stronger than any other. You'll be Luna of the most powerful pack, and he'll adore you. You purse your lips, thinking over her words. Luna Marcy, Luna of the most powerful pack in North America. It doesn't sound so bad. Venus being young and good-looking is just a bonus. Only a fool would pass up a chance like this. You tell yourself no matter what mate the moon goddess chose for you, you have the right to choose your own. Once you finish the mating process, any other bond will fade away, including this ache you feel for George. You put your hand over your chest. You rejected him, so why does your heart still feel restless when you think of him? Are you okay? Nora asks, concern clear in her voice. Yeah, you quickly force a smile. Tomorrow's a big day. Help me pick what to wear. I didn't pack some of my favourite dresses, so maybe we need to go shopping. Nora squeals at the idea of shopping her favourite thing to do. The Dark Howler's pack, while you and Nora are rifling through your closet. At the same time in the Dark Howler's pack, Vinus steps out of the pack house. Like every time he leaves for more than a day, he stops and looks up at the huge 3-story building. The first floor holds the common rooms, where pack members gather and guests are entertained. The second floor is offices, guest bedrooms, and the beta's quarters. The third floor is for the alpha and his family only. Vinus remembers when this place used to be full of life. When he was a kid, the pack house buzzed with activity. His mother, Luna Violet, was the heart of it all, kind, warm and loved by everyone. Now, only a handful live here. Regular pack members have their own homes nearby and only come here for business or special events, which are rare. It's quiet. Vinus turns to the car where Caden and Maya are waiting. Time to head to the Red Moon Pack and meet you his next lunar candidate. Cheer up, Caden shouts from the car. You look like you're going to a funeral, not getting laid. Think about a fine woman like Marcy. Spreading her legs for you should make you happy. Maya slaps Caden on the shoulder. What? Caden says innocently, and Maya just rolls her eyes. Why can't you watch your mouth? Maya scolds him. Since when do you mind when I talk dirty? Caden grins. It's fine when it's just us, Maya whispers. Caden chuckles and pulls her close, kissing her deeply. Vinus watches their playful fight and isn't excited about the trip ahead. It'll be a long drive, and he has to endure their PDA. Wait! A breathy female voice calls from the hallway. A moment later, a woman with curly red hair and food containers in her hands appears at the door. This is food for the road. I don't want you kids going hungry, she says. Venus laughs quietly and shakes his head. To her, they'll always be kids. He accepts the food without complaint. Thanks, Steph. Stephanie takes care of the pack house handling duties usually done by the Luna. Vinus jokes he'll marry her one day. The Luna looks after the pack house and keeps pack members happy. The Alpha handles security and all pack operations, including outside relationships, alliances, and enemies. When Alpha and Luna work together, the pack thrives. Vinus doesn't have a Luna, so Stephanie and Maya split the duties. Stephanie focuses on the pack house. Maya watches the pack members. Stephanie was Vinus's mother's best friend. Her mate was the beta, when Vinus's father, Alpha Jacob, was Alpha. Stephanie's mate died alongside Vinus's parents. Stephanie has a daughter, Lisa, who was 8 back then. Vinus treats Lisa like a little sister. After the deaths of Vinus's parents, things were unstable. Stephanie couldn't leave Vinus alone, so she sent Lisa to stay with her sister for safety. It took about 2 years for peace to return. Lisa adapted to her new home and stayed there. She still visits on holidays and summers. For the past decade, Stephanie has cared for Vinus like her own child. Everyone in the pack loves and respects her. Chapter 7, Power-Hungry Exes. Drive safe, Stephanie said to Caden as he started the car. You know you'd save time flying by helicopter or plane, but werewolves like to feel the ground beneath their feet. Flying is only for when it's absolutely necessary. Be back in 3 days, Stephanie added with a serious tone. Caden paused, thinking about your and Vinus's schedules. Nothing urgent would require your presence for at least a week. Any work could be handled by phone, email, or video calls. What's in 3 days? Caden asked. Cassie is coming, Stephanie said, her face darkening. Caden stifled a laugh. Maya grimaced. What? Why? Vinus asked, sounding defeated. Stephanie shot him a sharp look. You should ask her, not me. Cassie wanted to come today, but I told her you'd be away on business for a few days. Then she said she'd be in New York for 3 days and would come here afterward. Make sure you're back by then. I don't want to entertain girls who think they're my Luna. Venus nodded. I'll keep you updated on our schedule. Before Stephanie could say more, Vinus slipped into the back seat and mind-linked Caden. Drive! Now! See you in a few days, Steph, Caden shouted through the window as they pulled away. Not a few! 3! Did you hear me? Stephanie yelled after them, shaking her head. Kids. In the car? Man, you really should tie up your loose ends, Caden teased Vinus. Vinus groaned in frustration. If it weren't for Caden setting him up with that blasted date, Vinus wouldn't even know who Cassie was. Cassie was one of the bride candidates. About 3 years ago, Vinus met her and they got intimate. He didn't know it was her first time. Not that it would have made a difference. Vinus had been with many girls, she-wolves and humans alike. But after Cassie, he made a rule. No virgins. Cassie was a spoiled daughter of Alpha Richard. And Vinus wondered if she had marbles instead of a brain. He rejected her many times, but she refused to accept it. She went around telling everyone they were planning her lunar ceremony. The woman was delusional. Since their one night together, Cassie showed up at the Dark Howlers pack every now and then, demanding Vinus marry her because she gave him her first time. Vinus would probably lock her up or make her disappear if it didn't risk a war with the Steelbite pack. The Steelbite pack wasn't a big problem on its own. It was one of the smaller packs in the southeast. But Alpha Richard had many connections, even among the elders. And Vinus didn't want to give them a reason to target him. To Vinus, Cassie was just a temporary nuisance. Like many she-wolves throwing themselves at him, he tuned her out. Cassie came about once a month, stayed 2 or 3 days, causing a scene, then left when she got tired. No matter how much Vinus ignored her and blocked her attempts to sneak into his bedroom, Stephanie wanted to snap Cassie's neck every time she heard Cassie claim to be Luna. For Stephanie, there was only one Luna of the Dark Howlers pack, and she died 10 years ago. Every time Cassie shouted that she was Luna and acted like it, she was trashing the memory of Vinus's mother, the late Luna Violet. Stephanie knew one day Vinus would find his true Luna. She hoped that girl would be at least half as good as her best friend. Cassie wasn't even good enough to clean Luna Violet's shoes, which had been boxed up for the last decade, taking Luna Violet's place. Out of the question. Vinus exhaled sharply, trying to push thoughts of Cassie away. With any luck, she wouldn't come, and he wouldn't have to deal with her drama. Women like Cassie only reinforced Vinus's belief that having a woman in his life meant trouble. He already had enough to manage running the pack, balancing relationships with other packs, handling alliances, deals, hidden enemies, and the elders trying to control him. Other than his mother, Stephanie, and maybe Maya, Vinus didn't see any woman capable of handling that kind of pressure. That's why he didn't want a woman in his life. His hands were already full. Adding whining and drama would drive him crazy. To Vinus, one-night stands were perfect. Plenty of women, especially she-wolves with high libidos, were happy to have fun with a handsome stranger and then move on. Whenever he could, Vinus left pack territory, found a woman, had a good time, and by morning was back to his duties, with no strings attached. A clean break after a fun night. Was that too much to ask? Unfortunately, Vinus was a bit of a celebrity. The few women he spent more than one night with started to expect more. He didn't want their drama, so he ran. Vinus's phone rang, his brow raised when he saw the caller ID. Jade? Another ex, another bride candidate. She hadn't called in over a year, so Vinus figured he'd hear her out. Yeah. Hi, Alpha Vinus, can we talk? Vinus hummed in reply. He liked Jade because she didn't beat around the bush or play games. He remembered their date about 2 years ago. Jade said she was a model and planned to keep her career, but wasn't against one night of fun. We're already on a date, so why not enjoy it? She winked. Vinus agreed. In the morning, no hugs, no kisses, no promises. Jade just left. That earned her big points in Venus's book, so he didn't block her number. Now it seemed she had something on her mind. Go ahead, Vinus said. I know you're still single, and the elders are pushing you to get married more than ever, right? Vinus frowned. Get to the point, Jade. She heard the tone in his voice and got a little turned on. Every she-wolf reacts to a strong male. It's in their genes. My father keeps nagging me to quit my job, find a husband, and do all the things I don't want to. So, I thought of you. Vinus didn't get it. Explain. We help each other out. I stay at your place a few days. We go out, take photos, pretend to be serious. That should quiet my father and the elders for a while. I get back to modelling, you do whatever you do. When they start pushing again, we repeat. Sound good? You want to be my fake girlfriend? Vinus summarized, thinking maybe it wasn't a bad idea. Fake? Real, it's just words, right? We've already slept together, so other than marking, we're past the usual limits. This benefits us both. If you want, we can sign a contract. Just don't mess with my career or my money. After a pause, she added, I have to go. The show starts in 5 minutes. I'm the first model. Think it over and let me know. If you have conditions, I'm open. The call ended abruptly. Vinus stared at his phone. Is Jade going to be your pretend girlfriend? Maya asked, amused. I hope not, Caden said seriously. Vinus, remember once they get in, it's a headache to get them out. What if she wants more than pretending? And don't forget, Jade is smart and ambitious. If she wasn't, she wouldn't be a top model despite her father's objections. Venus exhaled sharply, feeling the irritation return. Women only bring trouble. Why can't they just leave him alone? Chapter 8. Talia, the Red Moon Pack. Out of the way! Anna snapped, pushing past with a stack of plates headed for the kitchen. Talia quickly stepped aside, not wanting to draw attention. She never understood why Anna or any of the other Omegas treated her so poorly. She was an Omega too. The only difference was that they had families. Talia didn't. She was an orphan and in a werewolf pack. Strength or numbers meant everything. Talia had neither. If she didn't submit, she'd get hurt again. She once read in a book that a good Luna should lead with kindness and help those less fortunate. But Luna Layla wasn't that kind of Luna. She only seemed to care about herself and about the Red Moon Pack looking impressive to outsiders. Talia tucked herself behind a large ficus plant in the hallway, quietly observing the rush of activity. The pack house was buzzing. She overheard a few Omegas saying someone important was coming for lunch, probably an Alpha. The pack house was huge, a mansion that housed the Alpha, Beta, and their families, along with any visiting guests. Most other pack members lived nearby, and the size of their homes and their distance from the pack house reflected their status. Talia was the only one without a home. She wasn't anyone. She stayed in the attic. Nobody remembered she was even there, as long as she finished her chores and stayed out of the way. Most days, Talia thought of herself as some kind of house mouse, living in the walls and hoping not to be noticed. She didn't mind important guests coming. It usually meant extra food. And with luck, some leftovers would end up in the kitchen for her to grab, like 2 days ago during the party. That party had been something. She listened to the music through the cracked window of her attic, while sneaking bites from a plate of snacks she managed to grab from the kitchen. There was only one awkward moment when she accidentally bumped into you on her way back to return the empty plate. Surprisingly, you didn't make a scene. She even apologized. Talia had decided right then that you must be a good person. She'd seen your room while cleaning it, endless rows of expensive beauty products and designer clothes. She looked like royalty. Talia had started calling you Princess Marcy in your mind. Taking the back passages through the pack house, Talia returned to her attic. The space was old, dusty, and cold, but it was clean and it was hers. She smiled at the sight of 2 apples and a small dinner roll sitting on a napkin beside her futon. Most of her day was spent hiding up here. At night, she'd finish her chores and sneak in a quick shower in one of the unused guest bathrooms. Once the pack slept, She'd visit the kitchen for something to eat. Today felt like a good day. If a high-ranking alpha was coming, there'd be a feast, and where there's a feast, there are leftovers. Lying back on her worn futon, Talia munched on an apple and stared up at the ceiling. She liked to pretend she was a lost princess locked away in a tower, waiting for a prince. But deep down, she knew that wasn't true. There was no prince coming, not for her. She'd arrived at the Red Moon Pack as a toddler, brought in by the former alpha. From the whispers she'd picked up, the old alpha had been a kind and strong man. Unfortunately, not long after bringing her here, he passed away. His son, Edward, took over. Edward had been eager to prove himself, and in the world of werewolves, that meant building military strength. He focused on training and warriors, and everything else, including people like Talia, was forgotten. Luna Layla took over the public image side of things. She made sure the pack house looked fancy and the parties were lavish. Their daughter, Yu, had been shipped off to elite schools in Europe. Their son, James, started training before he could even walk. In the middle of all that, Talia got lost in the shuffle. She remembered the day clearly. She had been around 7 or 8 when Alpha Edward decided to convert some of the common rooms into training spaces. That included her bedroom. "Where should I go?" she asked one of the women who was helping move furniture. The woman had shrugged. "The attic's not being used." So the attic became her home. That was over 10 years ago. Since then, Talia lived quietly, beneath everyone's radar. The Alpha and Luna didn't ignore her on purpose. They just didn't remember she existed. She had never gone through the official ceremony to join the pack, so she didn't have a mind link. That's one reason Alpha Edward didn't know she was there. But the Omegas knew, and they made sure she never forgot that she was unwanted. She learned to stay quiet, move quickly, and make herself invisible. Her days were filled with cleaning bathrooms and emptying trash, all without being seen. Shifting on her futon, she winced when something hard jabbed into her back. She pulled out the culprit, a book. That was going to leave a bruise. Living among werewolves but not being one, at least not fully, was hard. If it weren't for the voice in her head, she'd think she was human. 4 years ago was the last time she heard her wolf. "You are too weak to shift. If you try, it might kill you." Since then, silence. No growls, no thoughts, no dreams. Talia didn't know if her wolf was sleeping or gone forever. Without her wolf, she didn't have the strength, speed, or healing ability that werewolves had. She was small and underfed, and most people guessed she was about 15 or 16. She was actually 19. She looked down at the book in her hand. On the cover, a princess ran through a meadow, hand in hand with a smiling prince. Behind them was a bright castle. Talia's eyes always settled on the princess's shiny shoes. The story was Cinderella, a girl bullied by her stepmother and stepsisters, who got to a magical makeover and went to the ball, found her prince, and lived happily ever after. "Nonsense, Talia muttered. "Shoes don't change your life." Still, she smiled. The book reminded her of Olivia, the only person in the Red Moon Pack who ever treated her like a real person. Olivia had left a year ago, and Talia missed her more than anything. Every night, she hugged that book close and thought of her. Olivia had been 2 years older. Her father was the pack doctor. She used to sneak into the attic and help clean Talia's bruises. She couldn't openly defend Talia. It would have made things worse, but she always helped in secret. She also taught Talia about herbs, which ones helped swelling, which ones eased pain. When Olivia noticed how slowly Talia read, she gave her the Cinderella book. "Practice every day," Olivia had said. "This book will remind you that magic exists and dreams can come true." Talia had thought that was silly but sweet. She accepted the gift. One day, after being gone for several weeks, Olivia returned briefly. "I came to say goodbye," she said with a glowing smile. "Where are you going?" Talia had asked. She'd never really thought about leaving, not because she was scared, but because she had no idea where to go. She knew almost nothing about the world outside. "I met my mate," Olivia told her. "His name's Luis. I'm going to live with him. He's waiting at my house." I snuck away while my dad was distracted. Talia hugged her, wished her well, and waited until she was gone before crying. Olivia had found her prince. Now, as she lay in the attic, Talia placed a hand on the Cinderella book and closed her eyes. Her chores would start after sunset, when the pack slept. By then, the guests would have arrived and left, and the kitchen would be full of food waiting to be cleared. Talia smiled. With luck, there would be leftovers. And today, that was enough. Chapter 9. The Red Moon Pack. It was late morning when Vinus, Caden, and Maya arrived at the Red Moon Pack. Layla greeted them with a tight smile and an apology. My husband is with the scouts. They picked up some movement on the eastern border before dawn. Alpha Edward prefers to handle things personally. She escorted them herself to the guest rooms on the second floor, trying to appear warm and polished. Wow, this place is glitzy, Maya said through the mind link, taking in the towering ceilings, grand staircase, and marble floors. You can say that again, Caden replied. None of them reacted outwardly to the 2 lines of Omegas bowing as they stepped into the house. The entry hall was huge white marble floors, matching columns that stretched to the 3rd floor ceiling, and a grand staircase with golden rails. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, making the place feel more like a palace than a pack house. You know how many homes you could build if they just toned this down a little? Vinus muttered over the mind link. Caden responded calmly. In the Red Moon Pack, only mated couples get their own homes. High-ranking warriors get single dwellings. Everyone else above age 12 shares space, 6 to 8 in a room. Maya frowned. That setup didn't sit right with her. Back in the Dark Howlers Pack, communal buildings were optional, mostly used by teens who wanted space from their parents, or by elders who liked being close to their peers. Sometimes they were used in emergencies or for newcomers waiting on housing. Vinus had always believed in fairness. Whether you were a warrior, healer, or Omega, your contribution mattered. He'd followed his father's footsteps in keeping things equal for everyone. Giving people better perks based on their job only encouraged resentment, class division, and jealousy. The Red Moon Pack might have a strong army, but only because Alpha Edward rewarded warriors more than anyone else. That led most of the young males to choose that path. Maya felt it the moment she stepped out of the car, the pressure. The stiff warriors at the door, the distant shouting from the training grounds. It felt more like a military base than a community. You okay? Caden asked, rubbing her shoulder gently. He must have sensed her discomfort through their bond. She forced a small smile. Just tired from the trip, Luna. Layla nodded, pleased. Take some time to freshen up. Lunch will be served in an hour. You'll feel better after eating, and then you can rest. Before heading into her room, Maya asked, Will Marcy be joining us for lunch? She is getting ready, Layla replied, glancing at Vinus. She wants to look her best. Her best, Caden repeated with a small smirk. We look forward to it. Layla's smile stiffened. She wanted to snap at Caden for the way he said that he was just a beta, after all. But Vinus's unreadable, cold expression made her think twice. She bit her tongue and kept smiling. Vinus entered his room and locked the door behind him. Ever since they crossed into Red Moon territory, he'd felt something off, a tension in the air, like something bad was brewing. He headed to the bathroom to rinse off the road dust and hopefully some of his unease. Travelling with Caden and Maya was always noisy. They were either flirting or bickering, and now with the added pressure of Layla's forced hospitality, Vinus knew this trip would only get worse. He had met dozens of she-wolves hoping to become his Luna. Usually it involved dinner or drinks, followed by a night in a hotel and a polite goodbye. But staying in the pack house, this felt different. It felt like a setup to take home a wife. That wasn't happening. He wanted a proper conversation with Alpha Edward, find out what was really going on beyond the marriage talk. But the Alpha was conveniently absent, so that would have to wait. Lunch was served in an extravagant dining room that matched the rest of the over-the-top house. You were already seated at the table when Vinus, Caden, and Maya arrived. Nora sat next to you, fidgeting with a napkin. Everyone exchanged pleasantries and shook hands. Layla mentioned that Alpha Edward and Beta Raymond were still out handling security and would be back by dinner. She apologized again and explained that your brother was training with the warriors to build character. Throughout the meal, your mother smiled and played the part of the gracious hostess. You kept quiet, picking your words carefully, not too cold, not too eager. Nora, on the other hand, couldn't stop glancing at Vinus. Every time he spoke or moved, her cheeks turned red. She'd always imagined this moment sitting across from the man who haunted her dreams. He was even more attractive in person, his voice, his presence. She wanted to see what those lips could do beyond forming words. You noticed her stealing looks, but you didn't say anything. You didn't care. You weren't in love with Vinus. You weren't even excited about this match. He was powerful, handsome, and cold as ice. Nothing in his demeanor told you he was interested. Your mother leaned in with a smile after the meal. Why don't you take Alpha Vinus out to the garden? The hydrangeas are in bloom. It's a lovely day to talk and get to know each other. You turned to Vinus. Would you like to go for a walk? He raised an eyebrow. Since your father is busy, I need something to pass the time. You held your smile, but it stung a little. Going for a walk? Vinus informed Caden and Maya over the mind link. Have fun, Caden replied, clearly amused. We'll handle our part, Maya added. They had their own mission dig up anything that might give Vinus a reason to walk away from this match. In the garden, you kept glancing over your shoulder. Something wrong? Vinus asked. You hesitated. You didn't want to admit it out loud. You didn't want to say you were hoping he wouldn't be there, or maybe that he would, that you couldn't stop thinking about George. You looked at Vinus again. He was sharp, calm and intense, the kind of man who carried weight without speaking much. You didn't know him well, but his presence alone was enough to impress. Still, this wasn't easy. I want to talk, you said softly, but not here. We can be overheard. Vinus paused, eyeing you. He hadn't expected you to take initiative so soon. My room, then? He asked. You nodded, your heart picking up pace, but not from excitement, from uncertainty, and maybe a little fear. Chapter 10. Caught in the act. Inside the guest room, Venus sat back in a soft armchair, his eyes fixed on you with a calm but smug expression. You stood a few steps in front of him, arms crossed tightly over your chest. His gaze made your skin crawl, like he could see right through you. You asked for privacy. Here we are, Vinus said, motioning around the room. Start talking. You stiffened. Considering our future, I think we should be able to speak openly. He raised an eyebrow. Our future? Your patience snapped. Why was he acting clueless? Did he want you to say it out loud? Fine. We both know I'm here to be your Luna, you said firmly. Vinus leaned back, watching you, like he was waiting for a show to start. You couldn't tell if he was amused or just testing you. You had barely spoken during lunch, and that other girl, Nora, was the one giggling and throwing flirty glances. Maybe Vinus was confused about your attitude. Maybe he thought you didn't care. I've been trained for this role my whole life, you said. I know how to run a pack house. I know how to manage food, schedules, housing, finances, all of it. I'd be a real support to you. You want to ease my burden? Vinus echoed slowly. You nodded. Yes. He adjusted in the chair, slouching more, until his head touched the backrest. His knees spread wider. If you're so eager to ease my burden, he said, his tone dropping lower, why don't you start with that pretty mouth of yours? You blinked, confused at first, then his eyes dropped meaningfully to his lap. Your stomach turned. He was serious. You had done this before, sure, but never like this. Not like a transaction. Not without courtship or charm, but this wasn't just anyone. This was Alpha Vinus, a man who lived in a world where women served him. You clenched your jaw and told yourself this wasn't the time to push back. You couldn't afford to mess this up. Your father would kill you, so you took a deep breath, dropped to your knees and reached for his belt. His smirk widened as you tugged at his pants. He even lifted his hips slightly to help you. You noticed there was no underwear. When his length sprang free, you hesitated. He's huge, and not even fully hard. You steeled yourself and leaned in. Vinus let out a quiet groan as your lips wrapped around him. Upstairs in the attic, Talia jolted awake, pain shooting through her shin. Wake up, slave! Anna's voice was sharp and cruel, full of spite. Talia's eyes flew open and she quickly sat up. Anna didn't come to the attic often. That alone was a bad sign. Before she could react, Sean yanked her up by the hair. You need to listen, rat! Talia stumbled as he dragged her into the hallway. Her mind raced. Why now? They called her all sorts of things. Rat, slave, roach. But Talia never understood why. Was it because she wasn't officially part of the Red Moon Pack? Or because she didn't have family? Maybe because she worked without pay. She got food and a roof, hand-me-down clothes. That was enough, right? But maybe it wasn't about her at all. Maybe they just needed someone to take their anger out on. And she was the easiest target. She didn't know that Anna and the others resented her. As Omegas, they were constantly pushed hard, forced to train, punished if they fell behind. Whenever Anna got whipped or scolded, she looked for someone to dump that anger on. That someone was always Talia. And this time, Anna had a plan. One that could get Talia into serious trouble. Sean let go of her as they reached the second-floor hallway. Anna smirked and tilted her head. Gina stepped up and shoved a stack of towels into Talia's arms. Fifth door on the right, she said. Alpha Vinus needs fresh towels. Talia took a step back. Towels? I only clean the bathrooms and take out trash. What if he's inside? Anna raised her hand. Are you questioning me? Talia flinched and rushed down the hall. She didn't want another slap. Anna and the others held in their laughter. What if they're doing it? Gina whispered. Good, Anna replied. Let the rat interrupt them. That'll get Edward's attention. Think she'll survive it? Sean added. Anna grinned. Doesn't matter. She's gotten away with too much for too long. Talia reached the door and knocked lightly. No answer. It was silent. She figured someone like an alpha would hear her knock if he was awake. He'd say something, but there was nothing. Slowly, Talia turned the knob and pushed the door open. She froze. Inside, a dark-haired man sat slouched in a chair, head tilted back, breathing heavily. And between his legs, on her knees, was you. Talia's eyes locked onto the scene. Her mind struggled to catch up. She couldn't move. Then her gaze dropped to the towels in her arms. She had a job. If she went back without finishing it, Anna would beat her again. They hadn't seen her. If she moved quietly, maybe she could still do what she came for and get out unseen. Staying close to the wall, Talia crept toward the bathroom and dropped the towels beside the sink. She retraced her steps silently, staying in the shadows, just like she always did in the pack house. Almost there, at the door she slowly pulled it shut, but something made her glance back. Just once, and that was when she saw them with two sharp blue eyes, locked on her. Vinus had seen her, and he was furious. Stop! He barked. Talia slammed the door and ran. She didn't stop when she passed Anna and her gang. She didn't stop when they cackled behind her. She didn't stop until she was back in the attic. Door slammed shut. Cabinet dragged in front of it as a barricade. She collapsed in the corner, chest heaving. Is this it? Is this the day I die? She only did what she was told. But she had seen something she wasn't supposed to, something private. Talia didn't know much about men and women, but Olivia once explained how babies were made, how the body worked, and what she saw that didn't match what Olivia told her. Why would a woman put that part of a man in her mouth? She didn't know, but she knew one thing. Alpha Vinus looked ready to kill.